Hello, 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 hello. There we go. How about now? All right, we're good. What's up, Patrick? You ready for the silver and gold bull run? It's inevitably coming. Why do you think Trump says the golden age all the time? Always tipping. You got. I see your icon, gold. Hello, Edwin. Doing good. Thursday, taking tomorrow off, even better. But yeah, if you guys haven't noticed, since that trade of the week call, GDX is just the leader by far. If you just look at it on a daily basis, you've got the gold, GLD ETF, strong, silver, trying to play catch up as usual. And sorry, I was distracted. Yep, enjoying my physical metal. Yep, physical. Um, I actually sold a coin. I'm holding coin. My mom had a couple. I'm holding them for her. And when gold hit 3,000, I said, "Hey, do you want to sell one just as a celebratory event?" She said, "Yep." So I use AppMex. They're pretty good and pretty reliable. Anyway, we'll wait for people to file in here. Um, certainly some things to talk about market wise. If you're coming in for support, always happy to help. You get priority. But I usually just start rambling on about what's going on in the market. And we had Fed yesterday. Um, this move here was the Fed move, but we can't take out that high from yesterday. And what is not lost on me, and I told Andy yesterday, I actually he and I both grabbed a few things yesterday, and uh, I watched this pullback, and I thought, great, let's just bounce into the close and show some direction. And we didn't get that. We just fell back and couldn't get out of our own way. And subsequently, when I look at the daily chart at the close, which I have to do, yesterday's candle was the second of a rejection wick. All right, below a declining 10 SMA. This is as bearish as it gets. That's not bullish whatsoever. You're fighting all these headwinds. AppMex, not right on, Patrick. So today, if we can't get out of our own way here and we close like this, we're going to have 3 days in a row with 3 rejection wicks under the 200-day moving average. You've got the 20 crossing the 200. The 10 SMA is still holding under the price until proven otherwise. At the end of the day, we'll see. Yeah, let's do that, Edwin. Now, I'm going to assume, Edwin, let me know before I start that you do have the AVWAP add-on package, so you can use that. And if you do, I'll go and open that and show you. We'll look at some stuff. The Qs are they broke down below. They're moving up. Oh, I want to show you guys something. I'm short Tesla by way of TSLS. I'm sorry, but Tesla, the underlying, and I'm not picking on Elon here. I'm just riding the chart. I wanted to show you guys how keen this 5-day moving average I always talk about is, right? Look at that rejection there. Big rejection over an hour and a half at the declining 5-day moving average support back here. So we look left at the daily chart. Here's our 10 SMA. Couldn't get above it yesterday. Still can't get above it today. I'm probably going to hold this short. And when would I cover? I would cover when it breaks back above this 5-day moving average I've been talking so much about. So I'm kind of flat right here. Let's see. No, I'm still in the money pretty good. TSLS. So I noticed it here. Sorry. I'll get with you in a second, Edwin. Let me know if you've got the anchored VWAP, Edwin. You have that subscription, right? So I picked up this TSLS as it was fighting that 5-day moving average right about there. So now I'm willing to kind of hold this for a flat and let's see what happens. That's my short exposure to the market. Patrick, I'm loaded up pretty good. I'm thinking this might be the weekend to hold silver. So I'm holding some PSLV. I'm not interested in buying tech stocks. They're not following through. And there's the NASDAQ again, getting kind of heavy. All right, Edwin, let's go. Let's look at anchored VWAP. So for those that are interested, we're going to look at a new docked channel bar here. And we're going to find the channel, which is a paid add-on under show more. Here's Brian. I'm going skiing with Brian next week. Pretty excited. Thursday and Friday, I'll be gone. I'm not going to be here for my Thursday appointment. Just think of me. I'll be skiing with this dude in Colorado. So not only is a friend, he's a very smart trader. And remember, Edwin, when you open up, and anybody else, when you open up the VWAP, you get this splash screen, which gives you some additional video and content. But for now, what we've done is, let me see, let's grab a couple here. Let's find one that makes sense. So notice right off the bat here that we've got a VWAP from Gap. Now we can change that. There's no year-to-date either. We've got a blank one here as well. So I'm gonna select strategy, and we're gonna go to a VWAP. So here's how we're accessing it. Let's try the pinch play. Let's see if we can find an AVWAP pinch on the daily, which means it's pinching with, there we go. And here's our data that just filled in. So the tab here and a tab here. We can also change this one. And let's try a different one. I like, let's see. I like, well, tell me this, Edwin, what time frame do you want to trade in? Try AView at 15 minutes and see what we get. We'd have to change the chart to 15 minutes. I'll wait for you to reply. So going back to this daily window here, we've selected our strategy. And the AVWAP pinch, remember, is 2 anchored VWAP lines. And you can see we've got one, and this is all in his book, by the way. Here's the low, and here's the high. So we book in the high and the low, and all of a sudden you start to get this guardrail, if you will. And you can see how in the past that was a place to buy. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to come up here, and then this is going to be your resistance point. And you know what you do with that is up to you. Okay, perfect. Let's go to, okay, so I'm showing you the anchored VWAP that's in our library, but you're asking me about a specific stock. We can do that too. We'll just type that in. Okay, so now we're on a 15-minute. Just real quickly here, Edwin, I wanted to show you on this channel, we do have, like I said, the 15-minute AVWAP pinch, so you can get ideas. And so again, these are pinch plays, just like I was showing you over here, but on the 15-minute time frame. All right, so let me close that and come over here, and we'll look at the 15-minute Tesla, and we'll add an anchored VWAP to it. And again, look at how incredibly, oops, why are we not getting all that data? Hang on a second. There we go. Look at the correlation. Look at this, you guys. Resistance, support, congestion, resistance, congestion, major resistance. This 5-day moving average, remember, if you're new, it's 130 period SMA added to a 15-minute chart. And it gives you a 5-day moving average, which is easier than watching it on here. It's too many lines when you start to add it on the daily. So you bring it over here to this perspective, and it's basically giving me my target. I mean, I was able to get short Tesla right about here, and I'm going to hold on to it until it shows me it can get back above this major pivot area, which is the 5-day SMA. Now, that's how I do it. Edwin, you want to talk about I just got stopped out of a long, and that's fine by me. Let's pull up the anchor, and I'm going to click. I'm just going to pop an anchor in there from the high. I'm using the high within this window of the 15-minute chart. And so that's one way you could do it. And then when we want to remove it, we have to start over. I'll tell you what, though, Brian says this can work really well on something like a 60-minute chart. Just consider that for a second. Can I activate a 15 time frame? Yes. So look at this. Now we've got a lot more data to work with here. Let's take Tesla and look at that. We've got the high and the low down here on a 60-minute time frame. So we'll activate that and set it on the high, and then activate another one and set it on the low. And there's oh, look at that. This tells us it's extremely weak. Look at that. So we're so far below the anchored VWAP from the high. I think we can all agree this is extremely oversold. However, everybody that bought down here, let me try this again. Try that candle right there. Still, this is what I'm looking at here. So Edwin, extremely bearish in the moment, and I happen to be short, so I'm comfortable with that. I don't know if that jives with what you want, but we've got, pretty much this area is the anchored VWAP from everybody who bought this and said, I think this is the low in Tesla. So now as we just kind of bleed south, here comes our 5-day moving average. And if we can't get this price back above and at least close, then this is going to continue to remain under pressure. When I click on anchor, it gives me a small circle with an arrow. So watch. First off, let me just make sure that you are on the browser interface. So right click the chart, make sure you're on browser interface. I'm going to clear my indicators. There's 3 of them on there, I think. Yep. Bing. So watch what happens to the cursor when I do that. Okay. So let's just set one from this green. See this green reversal candle? That's a good anchor to use. So I want to get my cursor right on there. So I'm going to zoom appropriately. Set it up. Okay, now watch. It's one click. Now watch my cursor. I put the plus sign right on there. I click it once, and it should activate. Boy, oh boy, look how clean that is now that we've done that so closely. Resistance, resistance, resistance. I got myself a pretty defined out for my short. Odds are saying it's going to probably do that, but if it breaks above and closes above, I'm just going to get out for a very small loss. That's how you do it. So I hope that worked for you, Edwin. All right, let me see what's going on in the market here. Just take a quick glance. Again, I like looking at the cues in the 15-minute just to get a feel for we're having a hard time holding. And look at the cues itself. This is where we opened up right down here. We opened at the 5-day moving average, and there was nowhere to go but up. And now there's nowhere to go but just kind of drop back into the range. So it's very sloppy price action today for sure. Patrick, I've been looking for a lagging. Let me just start with this. Look at CDE. Giant move off the bottom. FSM, giant move off that's a big one. So I just started, I went through and used the Trade Ideas competitor, and looking for, come on, work for me, will you? Thing is getting wonky on me. Anyway, Nova Gold. Nova Gold popped up on here. Now, probably a mine that's not doing a whole lot, but when I pulled them up, I noticed, great, Edwin, Patrick, I noticed that it wasn't participating with the others, but it's really kind of sitting on the sweet spot, right? There's the 50-day moving average, and it's done nothing but, you know, take it over for the last 2 weeks. And it's just creating this defined kind of a range now. So I've been sitting in this one, in and out. I took kind of a beating on that day because it head faked me. And then I've kind of been in and adding to it. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens. And again, the theory is interesting. The theory is, in my theory, that this NG maybe is just one PR headline release away from playing catch up and turning into something that, that looks like FSM. Pause. What were some of the others? Anyway, all right. If anybody's got a question, you're looking for some ideas or whatever, be here for a while. Spy, look at the same thing in the spy. We've got, today's the third day of a giant wick here, rejection wick, but we're not closed yet. So a long day to go. I noticed the quant stocks have no interest in going today. The REGTI is what I just got stopped out of a minute ago. Let's look at that, Edwin. So we go to well, first. We'll just do one of these to start with. Oh, that didn't work. Duh. We got to do it in here. Okay, there it is. So we go to indicators. Now that we've got one drawn, there's the purple. So you highlight it, and you should be able to do it right here. And then, Edwin, once you've done it, once you've got the color you want, okay, I think it's important to exit using the save button. And using that save button will save it for you for the day. But just to make sure at the end of the day, when you do exit, make sure that you save layout before you exit, just to make sure that all your changes stick. There's no pullback to the 10 SMAs because pretty much all the stocks are below their 10 SMA. So it's an example of when a scan that was working at one point. Yes, if you click save, that should be the default from now on. And then, like I said, make sure you also click file and save layout as default layout. If you do those two things and set it up before you exit the program, then that should remain the same for you. All right. Let me just check and see what have I got working for me. Tesla short, as I was discussing, is all right. So here's what I fully expect Tesla to do. I shorted it right there when it was looking like it wanted to roll over. Got a nice little puke down, but then, you know, kind of a little relief bounce. So what I fully expect now for this Tesla short, again, this is my out up here. That's a solid brick wall. But what I expect is this formation to start to take shape of the 10 SMA, which is the momentum. That's what I fully expect this trade to start doing. But if it doesn't, and it just pops up here, then I'll stop out. That's it. It's as simple as we can make it, or I can make it. Hmm. I've tried to day trade today. I was just looking at a couple of trades, and I just, you know, it seems like my day trades are better when I wait for a long time for a lot of things to just set up. Something that I try to do in the first half an hour, usually kind of get reversed on. But anyway, we're caught up on chats. If anybody's got something they need help with or you want to look at, I love looking at charts. You know, if somebody's got their favorite chart they're holding on to, whether it's a winner or a loser, I'll tell you what I think of it, regardless, with no bias. When I say that, some people hold back. All right, so currently I got just three things. Like I was discussing with Patrick earlier, I've got a lot of physical silver, PSLV. If you're interested in physical gold, you can do the same company, PHYS. So that's not to be confused with paper silver. This is an ETF. And GLD is a paper ETF for gold. I think we could be moving towards the story and headlines of who's got what. Do you actually have the physical silver, like, you know, PSLV in their prospectus says they do? Or is there going to start to be an accounting of who's got what, and it starts to send the price higher, and who knows what happens to the other stuff? I mean, Patrick knows what I'm talking about, but some people speculate for every physical ounce of silver out there, there could be 5 to 8 ounces floating around as derivatives or paper, futures, naked shorts, what have you. So if that's the case, there's going to be a day of reckoning very soon. Sure. Let's see. We got a couple. So we'll start with Truth. What's up? How about RL? Is that Ralph Lauren? It's doing that thing that I was kind of talking about with the SPY. Now, the good news is short term, it is above its flattening and turning up 5-day moving average. That's what you got going for you on the good side. It's also been riding its intraday momentum 10 SMA also. So as we zoom in, it looks pretty good. But in the outer picture, it's kind of doing that same thing the SPYs and Qs have done. Today is day 3 of trying to get separation from this declining 10 SMA. So, you know, if you guys know how we buy stocks that are strong, we buy them on pullbacks, or we buy them on congestion with the 10 SMA moving up from underneath. If you can visually, mentally flip that chart upside down, it's the same thing. So until this resolves, and it can resolve itself higher, the sellers are in control in this particular case. But like I said, you got some conflicting things going on here. You just need to get the intraday to stay strong so the daily can close green, defined definitively above the declining moving average there. All right, can you look at this one? Okay, yeah, good question. IMCR. Oops. Come on now. Okay, so it just kind of broke my rule in the last candle. At quarter after the hour, it posted its first break below the rising 10 SMA. So to me, that's my signal that I'm usually going to want to get out. And if I do it early enough, something like this, you could look back at the end of the day and be happy that you did that. It might not work for some people, but for me, I rely so heavily on this line that I call it the momentum line. And once momentum is broken, you really are against the odds. And I kind of like to quietly get up and exit before maybe everybody else sets their stops. Now, obviously, you can see 3067, 3066 is the low here. 3 times it's knocked on that level. And sometimes I'll tell you the algorithms and the market making quants that are running this thing, they know that. And they know this thing is setting up to where retail is probably looking at this and saying, well, I don't want to take any more pain below 3066. So I'm going to set my stop down here at 3060, 61. It's almost a foregone conclusion that the algorithms, they're going to shake the trees and test you. So a lot of times I'll look at this and I'll just give up and say, no, thanks. Let's look at the daily. Wow, it's in a downtrend too. And it's broke. It's just not looking that great, in my opinion. My momentum is a 10 SMA on a 15, correct. And I've got that 5-day moving average as well. So for anybody that wants, I'm going to save it and share it. Happy. And you can bring up that chart on your own and just forget trying to set it yourself. Yes, me too, Edwin. Been waiting for this. It feels like the moment is really near for people who have just been kind of squirreling away maybe extra cash. I did the math on it the other day. That's why we do that. When you look at the value of the dollar and inflation and then the price increase in gold and silver over the last 5 years, it kind of worked out textbook the way it was supposed to. Oh, interesting, huh? Sprott CEF is a combo of both. Interesting chart. And then, of course, you've got SLVR. They're doing the gold miners, which actually probably isn't a bad deal, but you could just go to GDX, same thing. Looks pretty thin. I'm seeing a lot of red coming through here, so that means if I pull up my SPY, probably going to see some weakness. Yeah, look at that. How about that? This is why I use this, you guys. This is my pulse of the market. I can be talking to you or working on an email, and I look over here, and I see all that. I'm like, uh-oh, market's getting a little weak. All that is a high-low ticker with the S&P 500 as my symbol list. And NASDAQ doing same thing, yucky. Big red candle, and then just a lot of wicks on this daily chart. Not good for the bulls. And then my short exposure again is Tesla. Looking better. My long exposure is also Nova Gold. So that's it. PSLV got sidetracked. That's not liking the pullback either. Nova Gold, gold miner, and Tesla short. But like I was saying, Patrick, sometimes the weekends can be a nice big sneak attack for either the bulls or the bears in silver and gold because you've got the downtime. It's also interesting, Patrick, I noticed when I sold that gold coin last week, it took APMEX like an extra day and a half to acknowledge that they got the shipment, which tells us what? It tells us everybody's doing the same thing and their shipping department is overflowing. So, all right, NIV top. You want to look at AUR. Oh, man. Well, on the daily, the best thing it's got going for it is it's above its 50-day moving average. And so I call that the general bill of health. You're definitely solid on the 5-day. Look at how it's turned and is moving up. So, all systems are go for that. For the most part, that's holding up nicely. Automobile hardware data. So autonomous. Okay, that's right. Andy was telling me about Aurora. Yeah. And he was playing the China version of the same sector, which doesn't look good anymore. WRD. I'm going to keep an eye on that one. So here, how do I do that? How do I keep an eye on this stock if you're a new user? Pull it up and I click heart. What the heart does is it throws that symbol over here to my watch list. This is my wheelhouse. I'll see quickly, oh, look, the AI stocks are down, the Q stocks are down, Cuba. But, we've got some good ones here as well. So I'm constantly adding and subtracting the names from that list. So I just added it. Okay, let's see. Thank you for that, NivTop. Again, you've added a watch stock to my watch list for two reasons. One, I'm interested in that sector. I want to start building a watch list, like the nano nukes, SMR, Oklo, NNE, and then the quants and all that. So I'd like to get a new handful basket of the names that are, associated with the autonomous. Of course, some of the LiDAR stocks, I'm sure, as well. But those have been around for a while. I'm sure there's some new up and coming autonomous names. You think so, Edwin? I'll try that next time. I appreciate that. I'll kind of compare. I know because I'll know what I'll be able to kind of get from AppMex and what a local dealer might give. Plus, you get paid faster. How do they pay you? I doubt they pull out cash. Yes, I'm glad you asked that, Hutch. I almost decided to go there. But since you asked, we've got to do it because it's important. I mentioned I turn on the stocks that I want with the heart and cash. Oh, okay. You got my interest now. I'm going there next time. Although, are they federal notes or are they silver-backed cash? No, I'm just kidding. Hutch, here we go. So I've added AUR. Now let's look at this list here. Let's say I want to get rid of something. I want to get rid of Chewy. I want to get rid of a few ideas on here. So let's take this opportunity to clean out my watch list a little bit so I can make room for more. Again, it's easy to bump them in. You just click the heart. That one should be in there, down 1%. Is it in there? It should be. Let's see. Why does it say it's down 1%? Oh, I guess it is down. It should be right here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so good news. AUR is now one click away from me keeping an eye on that. Now, because I clicked the heart. Now, Edwin, I'm sorry, Hutch is correct. It used to be that if we uncheck that heart, the symbol would disappear. And I'm sure he's realizing that's not working. So what we have to do is we have to go to, doesn't put them there. Yeah, it usually takes 30 seconds to a minute for it to pop in there. But let me show you. That's the easy way to do it because you can add them on the fly. That's the way we really want to do it. Then, excuse me, you can take a moment and say, well, I need to, let's see, I need to come in here and go to my trade ideas. So you're going to go to my trade ideas. Yes, I'm learning a song on guitar. You caught me. And then we go down to my settings. I believe it's information portal. No, it's not information portal. Site preferences. Where is it? Oh, let me try again. Let's try again. My watch list. Let's start over again. So it's second from the top. Once you're logged in, which I am, that's my other watch list. So we drop down and we go to my liked. Now we've got a duplicate. And the reason is it doesn't work anymore is because we're slowly migrating and building over to the dashboard. So get familiar with having to come to the dashboard to, manage your subscriptions, which you saw earlier and things like that. So now I can say, hey, remember, I don't want to see Chewy anymore. Yeah, goodbye. Red click. Okay. I wish they wouldn't ask for confirmation, but they do. So I can just quickly go through, and I don't want to see TRNR anymore. That's a junk stock that Dan liked one particular day. There's probably a lot of things I could take off on here. BWXT, I don't really want that anymore. I don't know what that is. So that's how you do it. Hutch. Okay, couple things. When Edwin's correct, and it drives me nuts when that happens. So notice over here, I can go live quickly clicking that. But I can tell it, you know what, just stay in parked delayed mode. And we did this for that exact reason. So Edwin, you can just stay in delayed mode like I did, so I can go back and forth and I don't lose my green status. And the cues are trying to bounce. So hopefully that helps Edwin and anybody else that had that issue. Exactly. Edwin, you hit it on the head. This is why myself, Dan, Andy, Chris, of course, who usually doubles up. That's why we take time out of our normal, routine and responsibilities to stop what we're doing and come in here every day consistently at 12 Eastern for that reason. So nobody has to wait more than 24 hours to speak to us via this. People do come and chat and say, hey, I need somebody to call me to show me how to do this. I say, well, can't call you and show you how to do anything over the phone. The best thing to do is to come in and don't be shy and ask the question. And because this is not designed for me to come on here and ramble about what I think about the market and what I'm doing. That's just filler. It's designed for people to come in and say, hey, I can't figure out how to use that VWAP channel, or I can't figure out how to take symbols off of my liked list. So I know some people do watch the replay, but the people watching the replay don't have the luxury of getting to ask a question. So GDX Gold Miner ETF, which I'm certainly interested in, just won't break its trend, and any consolidation is very short-lived, shallow pullbacks. I think the market smells something, and I kind of want to be exposed to this going into the weekend if everything holds strong. But gold miners, we have to remember, are still equity. You're still buying a slice of a public corporation company, and so they rely on revenues and EBITDA and expenses and a lot of things, energy prices. Whereas PSLV is just the straight up commodity of silver, and so I've parked some 401k risk in here today. So, if I'm wrong on this Tesla short, like I said, I'll get out right above that purple and blue line. Sometimes what it takes is a pullback for the price action to regain steam to make a charge back through. So, if this Tesla doesn't roll over and go back to lows, then it could threaten to do that. So, Edwin, which one are you talking about? You're talking about the daily strategy trades window? This one? Or are you talking about the long term? I assume you'd be talking about the long. Okay, so you said yes to the first one. Well, especially for long term. Let's say this as an example, XERS, the first one here. You see the buy. All this is doing is it's kind of just giving you a continuation of ideas as you come into the day. It's like, hey, the AI saw something that was very important this day, and it was a day trade. But since that day, whatever the AI saw, a jump in volume, a change in whatever, it has continued to trend higher. So maybe you keep an eye on XERS in your watch list. If we click it, well, what I would do is I would say, well, that's an interesting one. Maybe we just set a price alert down here around 5 and we catch a nice pullback. And I would not have known about XERS had I not pulled up the long-term AI saying, hey, it did something on this day, but it's been moving higher since. Now, what makes it drop off of here? If it came down here like that and, reversed course pretty hard, it would no longer show up on this menu. So that's the long-term signals in the money. Let's see. So, or if you're talking about this one, any profitable trades, if I turn that off, you'll see we have two, and they're basically red. So signals in the money, profitable trades are just going to be net change green. Does it? If that's the case, David, that'd be great to know. That means that maybe the developers found a way to reinstate that. So, Hutch, you can give that a try. Right click. Talking about right click. Okay. History. Okay, this is the history. So we have three choices. History of stocks that have done, okay, stocks that did well. So let's go to history. We'll do last 60 days. Let's turn off long-term trades. So all this was this menu only corresponds to, all right, let's do last week. So in the last 5 trading days, if you only wanted to see the stocks that did well in history, you would do that. If you didn't want to see the stocks that were down, like in case you were shorting signals, in this case, they'd be out of the money. Okay, those were your ones that did bad. Okay. But what most people would do is they would just go history all last week. That'll give you every single winner and loser. You can kind of see if you scroll through, looks like the winners, look at those big numbers there. They kind of definitely outweighed the losers. So that's all it really is. It's only calculating the day of showing up in history. See, I noticed again my high low tickers were red, and I pull up the SPY and they just can't really kind of bounce out of their way there. Yeah, Qs were trying to bounce earlier, but now they're heading back. What's that Tesla short I got going? No, it's a fighter. Looks like it wants to hang on here for the moment. Interesting. It's turning back up too. Now the fact that it's not rolling over with the rest of the market makes you think it might come back up and challenge that. So the question remains, do I take what I've got or do I just bail? And the answer is I take what I got. Oops. Hold on a second. Here we go. I'll take what I got. We'll call it a scalp. So I'm going to sit in just two positions, the PSLV, which got a pretty good chunk of that position percentage wise, and then NG is also a pretty good allocation there. So I'm just kind of putting my faith in silver for the moment. All right, I hope that helped, Edwin. Let me try that on my own here. So if I take TRUP and I say I don't want to see this junky downtrend anymore, look, see, my heart has been turned off. So maybe if I turn it on and then off, maybe it'll go away. Good question, Truth Seeker. So let's go back to the beginning. I'm just going to start at our homepage. And you guys, please don't forget, I forgot to remind you. Hi, can you give me a configuration link for earnings scan? This is our GPT bot on the homepage. Sure, here's the link. I click that link and it takes me here. Well, what does this mean? I'll get to your question in a second, but what the GPT just did is it gave us a collaboration link. So I go, okay, let me copy that. And if I just simply open a new top list, I just can it was pre-configured auto by itself to show me earnings. Stocks that had earnings within the last date and they're up today. That's it. So don't forget, you guys, you've got this great tool. We spent some money in developing. We're going to make it even better. And when I say we're going to make it better, it means that pretty soon you'll be able to go to your configuration window and have a big Ask GPT right here for help in configuration. So back to your question, Truth Seeker. We go to our main page. You can collapse that. My trade ideas. And just make sure that when you get there, you're logged in up here. If you haven't, it'll ask you to log in. And then as I showed him a second ago, click that gear wheel and you can do your color scheme, dark light, whatever. But it's advised to put it on delayed. And the reason being is, of course, if we start accessing our account on the web, it kicks us out of live data. You can thank the New York Stock Exchange and their tyrannical heavy hand for all that nonsense, but it keeps you from having to come and reset your connection. So hopefully that helps. I'm still seeing a lot of red, but of course I bailed on my Tesla. I'll probably regret that. I probably will. Usually when I don't let the trade just marinate back to, it would have been a small loss. And so in my mind, I just said, yeah, take the scalp. Because Tesla is indeed extremely oversold. I mean, look how much space we've got down here between the 50-day moving average. But that's not to say it can't go lower. Okay, there's a reason scans don't work in after hours. There could be a couple. But the main one is going to be, I'll just use this as an example, any configuration window. The top list will continue to update in after hours if you make sure you've got the right click time frame. Let me try this one over here. Live always. I always keep my top list on live always. That way I can see pre and post market. But for an alert window, you're like, why aren't my high lows coming through after hours? Well, new low and new high only work during the regular hours. What you need to add, if you just type in post, you'll see you need to add a post-market high or a post-market low. Those will work after hours. But also, relative volume, if you have a relative volume scan, I don't recommend using that in after hours. Relative volume is basically reserved for regular hours when we can really quantify the amount of volume that's coming through. All right. Looks like you got that. I tell you guys, I look at this. I've been doing this a long time. You see 3 rejection wicks after buyers have attempted to bring this market back up. It's a giant red flag for me. There's my red flag. I'm not interested in buying. I'm just not doing it. Now, I do have 2 positions, but one of them is a commodity and the other one is a mining stock, NG. And as long as NG remains above this blue line here, this 5-day, I'm going to stay on this one because I think NG needs to play catch up to stocks like other silver miners, FSM, CDE, pause. Oh, SSRM is a very strong one. Look at that one. They're doing something right over there at SSRM. All right, guys, I just looked at the clock and I'm going to have to run. We got the support tech meeting coming up, development and all that stuff. And I sit in on those. So that's why I swing trade. I can multitask. So I'm going to log off and Andy will be with you tomorrow. We'll be in good hands. We have very similar styles. So thanks everybody for the questions. I'm going to go ahead and log off here for a quick break and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.